So today's topic is about purification, and it's a very important topic for yoga because everything what you are doing in yoga practice, in fact, is called purification practice. Why we use that term? Because the idea in yoga is that you try to reconnect with your soul that is pure. The nature of your soul, or the nature of your immortal self, or the true nature of yourself is pure. Is the nature of light, complete transparent, complete happiness, the nature of truth. Truth cannot be distorted. Truth cannot be veiled. We need to be very clear and free and open. So that's the nature of your own self. The nature of freedom, the nature of truth, the nature of knowledge. So, you know, in the language, you say, I feel dark. Darkness represents ignorance, and light represents knowledge. So sometimes, all of a sudden, you feel like enlightened. You understand everything. Everything is good. You're clear. And sometimes you feel very dark. You don't understand. You feel like you're lost. You're confused. You don't have any vision. Yeah. So the idea is we want to be enlightened. I mean, we want to have the light or the knowledge or the clarity or the cleanliness or the purity. That is the purpose of yoga. So it's not somewhere that you need to go to get. The light is not outside. It's the inside light. When there is proper tuning, then everything becomes very bright, very clear. It's like a camera, and you have to tune the camera, yeah? You regulate the camera, and when it's perfect align, perfect zoom, then the picture becomes very clear. Beautiful picture. If not, the picture is very fuzzy, it's not very clear, and you don't like it. So your purpose in life is to find that place where everything becomes very clear, very transparent. You are so quiet. You don't run here, run there. And yet you are very happy, very blissful. You are not feeling lonely. You're not feeling upset. You are very contented, very bright. Okay? So all the practices of yoga classical yoga is helping you to come to that point. So to understand that, you need to remember three things. The number one, according to Vedanta philosophy, there's three kind of impurities. Three impurities. And the job of yoga is to cleanse these three types of impurities. Okay? So the first one, the grossest one, the most common one, is called the impurity of egoism. So when you have your false sense of self, we call your ego, then you would see things according to your own point of view. You're not open, you are biased, your reality is distorted. At that time, you would live your life as a separate individual, and then there will be a lot of reaction or consequences to the fact that you feel yourself to be separate. Because of your ego, then you feel that you are better than someone. So you have pride, you have hatred, you have judgment, you have criticism, you have comparison. Or you feel that you are worse than somebody, then you feel, small, limited. Or you feel guilty, ashamed of yourself, or whatever that you are comparing yourself with, then the result is you feel some certain things about yourself. So that is called the ego. And it creates a lot of consequences, a lot of problem, a lot of pain, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of jealousy, a lot of non-cooperative attitude, a lot of hatred that comes from that, the ego. So the first purification level is how to purify yourself from this false identification with something, your body and your mind, but it is not your true self. It's the ego self. So in order to do that, the classical yoga teach you that you need to do selfless service, called karma yoga. That means you need to serve people no matter what you think, you like or you not like. You think you're better or worse. You have to serve people like your own self. You have to serve people like God. So you put your ego down. Okay? So that is the first kind of practice called karma yoga, to purify the sense of self, the sense of separateness. The second kind of purification is to purify the second type of impurity, and that is the fact that the mind, which is your instrument of seeing, is all the time restless. Your mind is changing all the time, changing. So it's always projecting different idea of what happiness is outside of you. It's constantly changing, restless. So again, that creates not a very stable picture of who you are, but depends on your mood, depends on your feeling, depends on your imagination, depends on your environment, depends on what people think around you. Then you start to think like this. You become restless, desirous. And from there come a lot of emotions that are the product of this impurity. I told you few already: anger, greed, hatred, jealousy, envy, fear, lust. So that comes from the nature of the mind itself, the nature of your instrument of seeing. So that's what Vedanta philosophy teaches you. So the second level of purification has to be how to stabilize the mind and how to make the mind transparent. Okay? So the first practice is a selfless practice called karma yoga. The second practice is the practice of bhakti yoga and raja yoga. Bhakti yoga is a practice of devotion. The reason why we are so restless, seeking for happiness and running everywhere, it is because of our emotional dissatisfaction. We don't feel content, we don't feel happy, we don't feel blissful. So always we have this projection of the happiness outside, and we have a lot of desire. So that's why it's very important for us to keep the emotions happy. But the emotions all the time change. You like this person, the next day you don't like this person. You like this food, next day you don't like it. Always the mind is tossing between likes and dislikes. So that's why at the same time you have to be able to love selflessly everything, not from the point of view of yourself, because from the point of view of yourself is the point of view of your mind. It's constantly changing. But you have to love everything from the point of view that everything is just the work of God, of the divine self, the divine being. And then you learn to accept, learn to surrender. So you don't become subject to the tendency of liking and disliking of the mind. You accept. So that's called Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, of selfless service, selfless love. If you practice this, your mind becomes very calm, peaceful. But you can see sometimes you practice and all of a sudden your mind say, oh, this is very boring. I don't like this. I like to go out and have a cup of coffee and drink some ice cream and meet with my friends and chit chat and watch TV and so on. Huh? Because the mind, again, is full of desires. And then you go back to your habitual way how to be happy. But it never satisfies you. You can sit at the coffee shop and drink coffee and ice cream and talk forever, but you're not happy. Next day you have to do the same. Next day you have to do the same. Because you're still looking for happiness outside. Or you can go shopping, but shopping, use all the money, and then you're still not happy. Everything you do is only short term. So because of the emotion unfulfilled. So that's why everyone needs to practice Bhakti Yoga, love, selfless love, so that you can see the beloved in everything around you. So you nurture that feeling within you. So that is how to deal with the impurity of the fact that the mind is constantly jumping, unhappy. But you also can control the mind by the changing with the opposite. If you like something, then you do something different. If you dislike something, you do exactly that. So you have to, Raja Yoga is learning to work directly with your mind. So your mind is not trapped in the same kind of habit. It's a lot of work. So it's a lot of practices of yoga is around this impurity number 2. How to make your mind stable, content, clear, not jumping around, not running here, not running there. Okay, so Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga. And the last one, the big impurity that everyone is subject to, is what we call the veiling nature of the mind. That means what it means. It means that you cannot, it's impossible for you to use the mind and see yourself. Your mind always creates the separation between this and that, me and that. So that's why meditation practice and yoga practice is to bring the union. So that is the practice of Jnana Yoga or self-inquiry. If you see somebody different than you like them, you dislike them, then you have to ask the question, who am I? And you see, because you identify with your age, so that's why you don't like an old person. You identify being beautiful, that's why you compare yourself to a person that is less beautiful than you, or you desire them. whatever you think of yourself, you will project something different outside. That's called the veiling nature of the mind. If you are a female, then you identify with that, and you see life is split in two. The world for the female and the world for the male. If you are black, then the world is split also between the black and the white, and the yellow and the green. So you're always feeling something splitting. You don't know who you are. So that's why the practice of inquiry, who am I? Go to the root cause of the problem, help you not to identify with something that is your instrument and not yourself. It's like you use a car, but the car is not you. You use your mind and your body, but your mind and your body is not you. Okay? So that is called the four path of yoga to help you to remove impurities. 3 kinds of impurities, again, summary. The egoism, everyone has that to some level. The tossing of the mind, the changing nature of the mind, everyone has that. And the veiling nature of the mind. I mean, if you look at your mind to find the self, then you're not possible. So you have to do self-inquiry to reject the untruth. So that's called purification. To reject the untruth so then the truth can come. To reject the darkness so then the light can come. To reject the false idea so then the correct idea can be. So in Vedanta, we talk about 5 veils of consciousness, or 5 levels of consciousness. Depending how much you are purified. Because you are born, some people are more purified than others. According to Vedanta, you were not born just this life, but also other lives. So some people would identify themselves very much with their physical body and physical existence. So that the first level of veil. So they just see the physical only, the material, the body, and the table and the furniture and the room and the house. Things are very material. Okay? So that first level, and that's called the food sheath. I mean, the level of the body. And the body is nothing else but the food level. What you eat becomes your body. So that's why it's very important that you eat proper food. From proper food come the body become more transparent. Proper means sattvic. If you know the concept, sattvic means pure. You eat pure food, then your body will be healthy and you'll be able to see yourself. If you eat tamasic food, dead food, then life will be dark and heavy. If you eat rajasic food, exciting food, drinking alcohol, very exciting, but life will be up and down. So the first level is a purification of the body. So, I mean, you need to take a shower every day, clean clothing that you wear, clean the house, very important, clean the house, clean your surrounding. Try, let's see, there's two things, not only cleansing, but also to preventing for impurities to come in. That's two jobs. Okay, so you need to eat the right food, but also you need to detoxify. You need to cleanse your body. Also prevent not to eat wrong thing. Yeah. So let's say you clean your body very nice, but you put all kinds of chemicals and makeup and everything on your face and in your mouth and in your hair and your skin. Your skin cannot breathe. So that also is you making something, you how to say that, you instead of purifying, you do the opposite. So that's why yoga, keep everything very clean and very simple. You can use some essential oil so that you feel calm. And but if you put perfume, Chanel 5, you know, then that is extra because it's meant to be attractive. So that would make your mind go outward. It's not pulling your mind inward. Okay. So the first level, the first layer is the body, the physical environment, the physical body. So when you don't feel good, just clean your house and clean your clothing, clean anything you need to clean, 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 clean. Called purification. The second level is the prana level, the vital energy. So you realize that life is not just physical. There's an energy that is surrounding you, that is everywhere. So you need to clean your energy. How do you do that? With pranayama. Pranayama, or breathing exercise, is helping to clean your nadi. Your nadi are the meridian that carry the prana to all your organs all over. So you need to clean your prana. And prana is very much related to the mind. The food that you eat, the thought that you think will make your prana is flowing or your prana is blocked. You can do pranayama, you can eat right food, but you have a lot of hatred, or a lot of wrong thinking. Like you think, oh, I can eat my food and everyone starve around me. It doesn't really matter. So that's wrong thinking. That thinking will block the flow of prana. That's why sometimes you do a lot of yoga, but people all the time tired. Why they're tired? Because there is a lot of wrong thinking. So purification has to happen also level of the prana, but also level of the mind. So the third level is the mind and emotions. If you don't have compassion, if you don't open your heart, you are selfish, you have a lot of anger, greed, hatred, then at that time there is impurity of the heart. Your motive is impure. You do some things always for your own sense of your own self-aggrandizement, your own name, your own fame, your own idea. But you don't do it with the pure intention to serve, to love, to give. Then at that time, you have impurity in your heart. You only love your family, you only love your nation. You don't care about other people. You can shoot other people, go to war against other people. You can torture the animal because, you know, they cannot say anything. You beat the dog. You eat the animal. So your heart is not compassionate. So then that is called impurity of your heart. You have lots of hatred and greed. So that is all this negative emotion make you, pull you down and make you disconnect with your own self. Like I said in the beginning, you need to be connecting with yourself, remembering who you are. But if your mind is full of all this negative emotion, you are disconnecting from yourself. So that's why you feel lonely. So that's why when you feel lonely and you're crying, nobody loves me, and blameful, at that time, the first thing you need to do is to go and serve somebody. Instead of being selfish and crying and only thinking of yourself, you need to go serve somebody. You open your heart, you give out. So then at that time, you replace the negative emotion with the positive emotion. That is called purification of the heart. Okay? A lot to do there. We have so much negative emotion. We have depression, we have anxiety, we have stress. Because we are selfish. Because we cannot see more than your own idea about yourself. But if you can get out of yourself, that's the idea of yourself, and you go and you become humble and you serve, you don't ask anything, you sometimes you cannot help other people, but you can pray for them. That also is very good. Sometimes you say, oh, you know, so many people are poor, so many people are miserable, I cannot do anything for them, so I close my eyes. That's not correct. You are aware that people are suffering, and then you pray for them. Instead of hating them or running away from them or judging them, you have to know they are doing things like this, they're talking things like this because they don't know. So you pray for them. So that win-win. You'll be winning, they also receive your prayer, winning. So you purify yourself because you have more understanding. And earlier I talked already about stabilizing the mind. Stabilizing the mind means helping the mind to be strong, to be concentrated, instead of a lot of distraction. So that's a healthy practice, is to be living in the now, not living in the past, not living in the future, not comparing, but be yourself, be very focused, living in the now. Okay, so make the mind stable. So do asana, help the prana flow, do japa, mean repetition of mantra, to keep the mind focused, concentrated, do meditation, to keep the mind focused and calm. All these are purification practice of the mind. Forgive, forget, pray, 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 all the time pray. So another level is the intellect. So we talk about the emotion, we talk about the mind, the intellect. How do you purify the intellect? So people think that whatever they think is correct. That's wrong. We are not able to think the big picture. Our thinking is very narrow, full of prejudices. So that's why one of the practice is to study scripture and to be in satsanga. When you study scripture and you are in satsanga, it opens your mind, it forces your mind to think about something else that is higher, that is more correct. But if you have the thinking that, oh, I know it all already, you know, I hear this already, I know it all. You see, these are the ego talk. You're not humble enough to put yourself to listen again. You always can be learning something. So study of scriptures or listen to wise words from teachers called satsanga It's very important. Practice to purify the intellect. But if you just go on Facebook and then you talk whatever, everyone has an opinion about everything. You think that you are right and you fight with somebody else. You put more impurity into your mind. The ego becomes stronger. You fight with somebody. You think that your point of view is correct. So you need to purify that tendency of the ego, of the intellect, to see things very limited by practicing humility, listening more instead of reacting. Always from the point of view of the ego, I know it all already. But your mind all the time say like this, I know it all already. Nobody know better than me. So the intellect is full of impurities. So we have to purify the intellect by asking the right question. We call discrimination and dispassion. I mean, asking the right question, who am I? Why I think like this? I think like this because, you know, my upbringing make me think like this. Because my attachment make me think like this. Because my egoism make me think like this. So then you have to let go of your own thinking about yourself. Do self-inquiry, asking yourself, so that you can let go of your preconceived idea and your prejudices. Okay? So that's a level of impurity at the intellect. A lot of impurity at the level of the emotions, a lot of impurity at the level of the intellect. That creates a lot of suffering. Why people fight? Why people fight? Because they think they are right. That's the thing. It's called impurity of the intellect, impurity of the ego. Why people suffer and suffer forever and ever? Why? Because they get attached to their emotions. They get attached to the feelings that they have about things. Okay? And the last one, we call the causal body or the karma, level of the karma. It's more difficult to understand. That means you identify, again, you think wrongly about yourself. You get attached to a certain situation that you find yourself in life, and then you suffer. So, and then you blame. Okay? But the idea is, whatever happened to you always is a lesson that you're learning. You are purifying whatever happened, if it's, even it's negative, you have to accept. You are purifying. And when you release your impurities, it's never all at once. It's a little thought at a time, little bit at a time. Because you never know that you are proud. You never know that you are thinking in a certain way. You never know that you have done anything wrong. Even when you do something wrong, you always give excuse. And nobody around you would point out what's wrong. Because we live in the world where nobody point out anybody's mistake. Why? Because nobody cares and nobody knows anyway. So, so you have to be in a certain environment with a teacher, and even the teacher will not point out. Teacher goes slowly, 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 because the ego will fight back. But that's your karma. That means a certain tendency that bring about suffering. Again, I repeat, when you suffer, it's because you are purifying. And you expect that life is not suffering. But in order for you to not to have suffering, you have to purify a lot already. You have to do tapas. You have to do self-discipline. Tapas of the mind. Something you don't like to do, you have to do without complaint. Not following whatever you like in life. And pointing finger and blaming other people when something you don't like. That is called tapas, austerity. So those who are very serious in purification, they volunteer to do tapas. If somebody says something that is insulting, that is wrong about you, you bear. For forbearance, you bear. Instead of, we say an eye for an eye. When somebody say to you something, you point out and you poke the eye of the other person. We say an eye for an eye make the world blind. You revenge. You don't forgive, you don't understand, you revenge, you fight back. But you don't see that's your karma. So another way how to purify is when you make a mistake, because usually you make mistake not only one time, but 100,000 times. You always repeat the same tendency. If you become more aware of your tendency, of your mistake, then don't repeat it again. That's the best way how you purify. Don't repeat the same mistake. So that's why you need to become aware of your own tendency. Don't repeat the same mistake. Accept and free yourself from that tendency. That's called purification of the karma. Let's say you say, my husband that is misbehaved toward me. Fine, you kick your husband out and you get another husband. And this time you complain about something else. And again, you know, another husband, another husband. But you did not recognize that it's you, it's not the husband. So you have to become contented and happy and loving and forbearing. So that you can work out the karma, which is your tendency. Okay? So, how many more minutes?
8 more minutes.
8 more minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so everything you do in yoga is purification. Kirtan chanting is purification of the heart. Japa, repetition of mantra, is purification of the heart and of the mind. Prayer is purification of the heart. Meditation is purification of the mind. Self-inquiry is purification of the intellect. Pranayama is purification of the prana. Self-study, end of the year very soon. So you have to do some kind of New Year resolves. So then you can start the new year in a right footing. Yeah, so that is, you take some vow, take some vow so then you can live according to it, So that is purification also of the habits of the mind. You do self-study, you do satsanga every day, listening, reading books from the masters. Yeah, don't think that you know already. All the time you have to be humble and listening over and over again. Yeah, purification of the food and the environment. Eating right food. So all these are part of purification. So Swami Sivananda say, like the story of that man who come to a Swami, a sadhu, and ask for initiation. And then the sadhu say, okay, you need to go and come back later. And then after some time, the man come back and ask again. And the sadhu or the Swami say, go and come back. So then after some time, he come back and he bring a bowl of nice prasad, sweet prasad, fruits and everything nice. And he offer to the sadhu, to the Swami, and the sadhu say, okay, just throw all this away and then give me the bowl. So then this devotee give the bowl, and the sadhu put all kinds of dirt in there, feces and urine and mud and all kinds of smelly things in the bowl. And this man, he say, oh, what are you doing? Why you put all kinds of dirty things in my bowl? And the Swami explained, your mind is like this, full of dirt, full of impurities, full of smelly things. If how can I put God in this bowl? Please clean it up, clean up the bowl, clean up, empty yourself, and then bring the bowl back. Then I can put God inside. So that's the story. I mean, we want all kinds of things. We want happiness instant, like instant coffee, happiness instant, peace instant. But we don't want to practice. Yeah, we're full of all the time comparing and then blaming and then full of yourself. Yeah, if you're full of yourself, there is nothing that any teacher, anybody can put in, because your mind is so full. Yeah, so you need to empty yourself, purifying yourself. Then at that time, automatically some insight will come to you, some kind of new idea will come to you, some kind of feeling that I am I'm learning something, will come to you naturally from inside of you. Yeah. So purification is the main thing. Swami Sivananda say, purification is the way to the kingdom of the divine, is the way to bliss. Because why? Because the soul is blissful, is eternally pure. Okay? So we need to eradicate all the desires and the attachments and purify the mind and turn inward, destroy all the thoughts in your mind, all the tendencies, all the raga, dvesha, the likes and dislikes, and the rajas and the tamas, and need to become more calm, more detached, meditative, then do the practice regularly. Internal purity is better than external purity. Okay? Internal purity means release yourself from all these negative emotions. External purity means clean your body, clean your food and everything. Okay? So then when the mind becomes pure, then the teaching will penetrate naturally. Okay? Otherwise, when the mind is full of impurity, any level of teaching, you don't understand. You find fault with the teacher, you reject the teaching. Why? The mind is so full of impurities. So yoga is the path of ethical training. Yoga is the path of self-discipline. Yoga is a path of purification inside and outside. Okay? Any question? What is this? What if purification happened with too much intensity and super fast, making one almost dysfunctional due to trauma? Bhakti helps, but acceptance is not always easy. How should one approach this kind of traumatic situation? Then you go slow. But sometimes you cannot go slow because God is faster, So you have to accept. Sometimes you want life to be just like normal, so you can do your 2 hours of asana and you chant and you meet with nice people. But it's not like this. Like right now, the whole world is going through the pandemic purification. Yes or no? Who wants this? Who is ready for this? Nobody is ready for this. Nobody wants it. But now it comes. So what do? You need to be positive about it. Yeah. And you need to accept it. You need to understand that there is something positive about it, something good about it, even though you don't understand. You cannot be depressed. You cannot be blameful. You do the best you can. Right? And you said, oh, I wait until everything is calm, then I do yoga. No, you don't wait. Right away, in the middle of it, you need to do it. Some people, pandemic, they become more selfish. Yeah? Instead of the opposite. Because you suffer, so they have to think of other people that suffer also. Not because you suffer that you become more egoistic. Trauma is because you have some emotional, difficulty to adapt. So you need to be stronger. That's why all the yoga practice makes you become stronger. Stress, you cannot stop stress. You cannot stop difficult situation. All of a sudden somebody next to you die. So many story. Yeah. You did not, and you are traumatized. No, you just have to learn to accept. And that's why you practice yoga, in order for you to become strong. Okay, that's part of what we call purification of the karma. Purification does not mean that you have all the time in the world and then, you know, things happen the way how you want it. It's not that at all. Purification is very painful. But you have to be positive. Okay? Things never go your way. But that you need to see, oh, it's my purification. It's difficult, but I accept it. And you become positive. Yeah, I'm here in Da Nang. I already arrived in Vietnam. I'm in a hotel room. 7 days, like in jail. I cannot go out. I can go a little bit around, but there is no place to go. And, you know, they take a temperature twice a day. So I have to accept. Okay? So be stronger. Don't be traumatized about anything. Even if something is difficult, it's okay. You understand it and you let go. You forgive, you forget, and then you continue. You cannot be a victim. Life is not, you are not a victim. That's some false idea about yourself that makes you feel like you're a victim. So if you have questions and we don't have time to answer, then you can write to Priya Chaitanya at the ashram. Then I answer by email. Okay, so the ashram has now the TTC going on there. Everyone has to wear mask, but they do TTC and they are happy. They are in nature, and you know, we do the best we can. Everything is okay. Just feel strong. Do the best you can. And don't be afraid. Okay, so at the end of this TTC course, then we have the Sivananda Yoga Health Education course. Then maybe after that we can accept yoga vacation. Because now we have to limit, you know, you cannot just go in and out of the ashram because of COVID. So everyone come, they had to have the test, and you know, all the staff had to wear the PPE, the blue suit, and turn into nurse. So, so we have to adapt, you know, but we are not crying. We do the best we can. The ashram is open, teaching some people, it's very nice. And the centers are open, teaching. So, okay, do the best you can. Don't be more selfish, be more selfless. And imagine that you are light. You're enlightened, and you are light. Okay? Hare Om Tat Sat. Om.